Hey there, hey there. This is Jill. Hope you're doing well. If this is your first time on this YouTube channel, I'm Jill Smith. I am a nonprofit expert. My husband and I have a company called the Smith Serve, and we help nonprofits, primarily founders of nonprofits who have started nonprofits that are 5 years or less. So we are here to help nonprofits grow and build capacity and not give up on their vision and maybe tweak their mission, get them unstuck. So if you fall into that category, you're in the right place. I ask that you subscribe and that you listen to all the videos. If you are not in our Facebook group, Founders of Nonprofits, I encourage you to go and join that group. I'll put the link at the bottom. Also, highly encourage you to download the free checklist, how to start your nonprofit, because that will give you strategy. More than likely, if you're on this channel, you're stuck in an area, you're halted. Most people are at the point where they say they need a grant and that's not what they need, or they say, they're struggling to get board members and all that. And so there's some things you probably need to do before you do those things, which are vital, but there's some steps before. So make sure you download the checklist. It's absolutely free. Um, what else? If you want to speak with me, if you are at the place where you need to speak face to face and you need your own unique direction and strategy, I am here to help. You can book a discovery call with me. And the link is also here in YouTube as well as on social media. To learn more about the Smith Serves, to learn about more about me, to learn more about my husband. We also have a nonprofit that we're operating as well, where my husband spearheads. You can go to our website, thesmithserves.com, and you'll learn more about us and me and why I'm here to help. All right. So this is a topic today that I have to talk about. And I know as a founder, you are one of those people who don't want boundaries, you don't want limits, you don't want to be controlled. But um, starting off right, um, if we put some things in place, it will set you up for greater success. And this is one of those topics where policies need to be in place. And these are 5 policies that you need to have established for your nonprofit in order to set yourself up as credible. So, down the road, when it's time to apply for that big grant, um, you can, you can say, this is what's in place. And so that this will help establish credibility. So let me just say this. Um, your board's responsibility, one of your board's responsibilities is to help draft policy and to review new policies that are presented, because new policies can be put in place, on a consistent, ongoing basis. Is to review policies and um, to rule over and agree on if a policy should be established. And so that's part of the board's main functions, other than like your one-time fundraiser, like during your annual plea. But a board is not there to do operational stuff, and they're just not there. In the beginning, they may help, just to get the organization up and rolling, but their job is really to review um, the issues of the organization, to review policy, help draft policy, and to establish some checks and balances for your nonprofit. That's what they're there to do. And policies are one of those functions, those activities. And so there are 5 policies that's going to rub you the wrong way. If you are a founder, it's going to rub you the wrong way, but I guarantee you this is going to work in your favor. It's going to work in your favor. These are 5 policies that every nonprofit needs. All right. And there are many policies out there. I mean, many out there that you need. But to start off, these are the ones that I've discovered over the years that are vital to be established in the beginning. All right. The first one is a conflict of interest policy, a conflict of interest policy. And that policy basically says, this is a conflict of interest. One of the things that's a conflict of interest is the founder serving on both sides of the operations and the board as a board officer. That's a conflict of interest. So some items that can go on a conflict of interest policy is that, like, it's a conflict of interest for the for the organization's founder to be the executive director as well as serve in an officer's role on the board. That is a conflict of interest. Other conflict of interest could also include professional services. Say that board founder is an accountant and he's also being paid. That could be a conflict of interest. So providing professional services of any board member, providing professional services and getting paid. So whatever your conflicts of interest are, those are listed in a conflict of interest policy. All right, conflict of interest policy. So that's the first policy that I highly recommend that you put in place. The second policy that I highly advise, I'm going to say advise, I don't like to say advise because that sounds legal, that I recommend that you put in place is a compensation policy. Compensation policy, and mainly the compensation policy for the executive director. So if you're the founder and you're serving as the executive director, you're doing a lot of the work. And so you need to be compensated. And so for a lot of my clients, I help them put a policy in place. I help the board put a policy in place, compensation policy that the executive director will get a percentage, because in the beginning, a lot of revenue is not coming in. Let's just be clear. Let's be real. A lot of revenue is not coming in, but you put a compensation policy in place that basically says that the executive director will get a percentage of the funds that's raised. And in that policy, one of the functions of the executive director is to raise funds. That's their primary duty, is to raise funds. So the more funds they raise, the more they're able to be compensated. But maybe you want to put in a compensation policy that the compensation that the executive director will serve as a consultant, not an employee, and they will be getting a percentage of the revenue that's raised. However you want to word it, but a compensation policy for the executive director is a policy that I highly recommend. You want to put it in writing, and it will also ensure that you are also compensated. So it looks on one hand like they're putting a limit on what you can do in your nonprofit, but on the other hand, it's also saying, pay me for the work that I'm doing. And y'all agree to it. All right. The third policy that I recommend is a spending limit policy, a spending limit. And now this really rubs founders the wrong way, but a spending limit policy basically says that the executive director or anybody in the organization, but one of the main outlines is how much the executive director can spend without getting approval from the board. And 9 times out of 10, it's like $1,000. So there was a board that there was a nonprofit that I was a board member of. And every time the board would meet, the executive director was like, I spent, so this month I spent $175 for cartridges for the printer. And I was like, yeah, report, but all that nickel and diamond, like, that's unnecessary. Then she was, send an email out and said, yeah, we need to pay for the web designer, and he's charging $57, and we want to know, can we? And I'm like, no. That's, first of all, you're wasting our time. Like, no. So what can the executive director have liberty to make a decision to spend without having to go to the board for approval? And that is, again, on one hand, it looks like, oh, they telling me what I could do with my nonprofit. But on the other hand, it's saying, I have the liberty to do this without the approval. So you definitely want to put a spending limit policy in place. So that's the third one, the conflict of interest, the compensation policy, the spending limit policy. The fourth one is a reimbursement policy, a reimbursement policy. So if in the beginning, you might be spending your own money. So, when funds come in, you want to know, can I get reimbursed? I just, I'm the founder, but I just spent $1,000. Like, can I get my money back? So you want a reimbursement policy in place to say that whatever you're spending, that you are being reimbursed. Again, if the spending limit policy is in place, then you ain't going over a certain amount spending without, getting approval from the board to spend it. So, but yeah, a reimbursement, this will ensure that you get your money back. Even though this is your nonprofit, well, you don't own it. We know that you don't own it, but you're a steward in this nonprofit, and this is your vision. And you want to know, though, yes, you can get your money back. If you're spending money for the nonprofit, you want to know that you can get your money back, even if the nonprofit doesn't have the money right now. When they get the revenue, and then when you're raising funds in the next couple of weeks or months or whatever, make sure you're getting your, so you have a reimbursement policy in place. And then the fifth policy is a check signing policy. A check signing policy. No, the executive director, it does not look right. And a lot of banks will not approve this either. There has to be 2 signatures on a check. So especially those large checks. And that goes along with the spending limit policy. If there is a big purchase, put it in place where the executive director has to sign, as well as the treasurer of the board has to sign. So you want 2 signatures in place. You want to have a check signing policy. It could be that the executive director can sign checks up to a certain amount, maybe up to their spending limit, so that's another policy that you need to put in place. And those policies, those will look good for your credibility and your accountability in the future and now. It comes across as you have, you got some controls in place. You have some controls in place. And so those policies you definitely need. This is the boring part. Writing policy is the boring part, but you got to do the work, and you want to build your nonprofit up for success and to be able to get the funding you need so that you can impact and serve those who you're called to serve. All right. So I hope this helps. Conflict of interest policy, a compensation policy, a spending limit policy, a reimbursement policy, and a check signing policy. Check signature, yeah, policy. There are tons of other policies from social media, who can post, who can't post, what to post, all of that. Social media policies, when you start to get staff and volunteers, all kind of policies you need for that, sexual harassment policy, and all kinds of policy, gift giving policies. There's tons of policies that's going to come over time. Don't worry yourself about all that coming up. Right now, I do highly recommend that you put these 5 policies in place, in the beginning. All right. Hope this helps, and I will see you on the next video. All right. Be blessed. Bye-bye.